Hello and welcome to Tête-à-Tête, France 24's flagship interview show. Our guest this week is Nir Barkat. He is a former mayor of Jerusalem, and he is Israel's economy minister. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Mark. Pleasure.
Nearly 3 months, or over 3 months, since the war began with Iran. Iran still retains its nuclear stockpile. It apparently reconstituted most of its ballistic missiles capabilities. There was no regime change, so this begs the question, is it a strategic failure?
Well, the world must understand Iran is a regime that wants to demolish and take Israel off the map. We're not going to let this happen. They use 3 strategies. The first is trying to create a nuclear bomb in order to use it. That's what they said they will do. And today, when you look at their behavior, you understand that they were serious. They're still serious in doing that. The second is their huge ballistic capabilities that was dramatically tampered. The third is funding proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah in our region, that are using so that the proxy challenging Israel with rockets and other means of terror. So we in Israel have no choice but to eliminate their capabilities. And that still remains.
But it hasn't happened.
Well, the way that they were struck by Israel and the United States, they got a huge blow. The job is not over. If it's going to be over through diplomacy or another round of war, it's up to Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump to decide.
But there was an assumption by Israel. There were reports that the Mossad said, well, there would be regime change. We're maybe going to use the Kurds to get into Iran, and the regime will simply fall on its head. And it hasn't happened. I mean, isn't this a mistake in terms of assessment of what would happen inside Iran after such an attack?
Let me be very clear. It's 2 things, motivation and capabilities. We'd love to see the motivation change and the regime changes to change people that want to kill us to maybe hopefully someday have a friendly government there. But the key focus that we have is their capabilities. If they have no capabilities or we dramatically damage their capabilities, that is good enough for Israel. And that's what we're targeting. Hopefully one day they'll change their intentions. But until then, we have to focus on their capabilities. And that's exactly what we've been doing.
The situation is obviously still very tense and volatile in Lebanon. Do you think that Israel should permanently stay in parts of Lebanon, and this also might involve Syria? I mean, do you think that's the only way for Israel to get security, essentially occupy a part of the neighboring country?
Well, we've demonstrated that if countries around us want to strike peace with Israel, we know how to do that. We did that with Egypt over 40 years ago, with Jordan 30 years ago, now 6 years with the Abraham Accords almost with the Emirates and other countries. So it depends on Lebanon what they want to do. If they decide to have peace with Israel, we will do that. We'd be happy to do that. Until then, again, they are today controlled by Hezbollah. Hezbollah had a huge amount of warriors right on the border of Israel. They wanted to do what Hamas did October 7th. We have to eliminate that, further them away from the border to make sure that they cannot penetrate to Israel. We have to make sure that their rocket capabilities is diminished, demolished. And as long as there's a threat from Lebanon, Israel will continue to eliminate the threat. We must eliminate the threat either with war or if the Lebanese government eventually decide to change their attitude like Jordan and Egypt did in the past.
The threat from Hezbollah, you mentioned missiles. Now it seems to be drones, and there are lots of reporting that Israel was caught a bit off guard by Hezbollah's drone capabilities, that Israel did not expect this, and this is why people in northern Israel bitterly complain that they are not being protected by the government and the army.
Well, certainly, you know, in war, it's never perfect. But I think that Hezbollah has to understand that Israel will not allow this to continue. Okay, that we have many, many means, many opportunities, many ideas of what to do to tamper their capabilities, including drone capabilities. And I have to tell you, Hezbollah is playing with fire. This situation will not continue, even in the near term, without Israel's response, and it's going to be a big response.
I want to ask you about Israel's image. Obviously, it's been damaged, including in the United States. All the polls are showing that, especially with young people, Israel's support is really reduced. And we even see in Congress some move to essentially forego the free supply of weapons by America to Israel. The Prime Minister himself apparently is in favor of that, saying, you know, it's enough. We should essentially stand on our own. Do you think that it's important for Israel to rebuild its image in the United States, to show that it's not a free ride, and that you need also maybe to pay like other states would?
First things first, our security and life is the highest priority. We need to protect ourselves, and if that means going to war and eliminating and dismantling the terror infrastructure in Gaza and the terror infrastructure in Lebanon and the capabilities of Iran, we will do that. Any sovereign country in the world would put their own security first priority. It's tough, it's war. And some people don't like war. We don't like war. I was shot myself in Lebanon in 1980, defending our northern border. We went to fight terrorists in Lebanon. So that's the first priority. The second priority, we will come and deal with our image, because I prefer to be alive and deal with my image than to be dead with a good image. And I'm telling you that when we will expand the Abraham Accords with other additional Muslim countries, and hopefully with the sheikhs of Hebron and other leading sheikhs and autonomies or emirates in Judea and Samaria, then I believe the image is going to change, because you know how to fight and you know how to create peace. Today, people may be looking at war. War is never nice scenes. We didn't start this war. The atrocities of October 7 was the trigger to this war. We realized that we cannot allow our region to have capabilities like Hamas did before October 7, and we are now committed to decrease the risk of Israel. And now, once we do that, you will find that we know how to strike peace and expand peace. The image will follow.
In Europe, obviously, there are tensions between Israel and several European governments, including the French government. The latest event was the decision to ban Israeli offensive weapons from the defense fair that's supposed to take place in a few days, Eurosatory. What is your reaction to that decision, the idea not to have offensive weapons, but only defensive ones?
Well, I think it's shameful. This is an international show where international companies and states come and propose their ideas in a global way. I think it damages the relationship between the French government and the Israeli government. And if anything, if the French government thinks that this will stop Israel selling to friends, to friendly armies that want to defend themselves. Many countries in Asia and many countries in Europe and other places in the world, they're dead wrong, because our companies will do really well in spite of this shameful decision by the French government.
So one last question. How is Israel's economy doing? Obviously, you had war, you had Gaza, Iran, now Lebanon. This must have a negative impact on Israel.
Well, look at the numbers. People are amazed. You know, here in the OECD, we sat with the peer economic ministers in this last 2 days, and they were all amazed by the numbers Israel's demonstrating. This year, we expect growth of 5% on our GDP. The GDP per capita in the last 4 or 5 years grew from $60,000 a person to close to $70,000 and growing. The investments in Israel is second to none. Last year, we had, I think, over $80 billion M&A with the United States and other companies. We have less than 3% unemployment. The shekel is extremely powerful. So if you look at these numbers, and by the way, our stock exchange is by far giving the highest return relative to any other stock exchange in the world. So people are very hopeful. They understand that Israel is doing well. We get along very well in wartime. And we believe that immediately after this war, this round of violence will stop. You'll see a huge spike of growth. The demand for our products, not just the defense, for dual use and other things is up the roof. And I am very proud of the Israelis and what our economy does. You know, in the Ukraine war, over 5 million people fled to Ukraine. In our round of violence, in this war, you had 150,000 Israelis fight to come back to the front lines and defend our country. So the people don't understand Israel. If you want to ban us, we will bypass France and get to our customers. And if you want to position on the table post-war to sit with us and the Lebanese and others, then these kind of steps are damaging the relationship between the two governments. People to people, I'm less concerned. You know, France is a great country. We believe that we'll have a great future here with the French people. But right now, the government's made a big mistake.
Nir Barkat, thank you very much for being our guest, and thank you all for watching this edition of Tête à Tête here on France 24.